Hello, and welcome back to the lovely series of FRLT Fords. We return here tonight for round number 9 and the finale of the season. I'm currently trying to find some people still to invite, as we're a little bit short on people for some strange reason. Nobody's decided to actually come and join or get in via their teammates. So I'm having to find a couple of people at the moment. But we will get on to things in the next moment. But as you can see, it is Bahrain for this week. And as you can see, it is 3.362 miles, 15 turns, 3 down zones down the pit straight, second straight, and down that back straight, of course. Going quite a bit, in all honesty. Quite a lot on this track. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one here tonight. In all fairness, it's going to be pretty interesting. As you can see, the calendar, we've now gone through Imola, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Great Britain, Austria, Kota, China, and the Netherlands, and we now come to Bahrain. So, hello, Jolinta. I've invited this man like 5 times. So I do apologise for that. People are asking for invites once I've invited them. I've invited them like 6 times. It's Robin. We'll be getting started in about the next minute or so, but I need to find one more driver because, like usual, decides to not say anything until like 5 seconds before. But we got 13 in. We're going to have our 14th driver. We're 4 short for some absolute strange reason. No clue why we're 4 drivers short. We'll actually be going up to 15 in a second. We should be going up to 15 any second now. Unless somebody's just really slow at joining, which they probably are. Let's see if we could just send them one more quick invite. This is a little bit mental. These guys are taking so long to get into the server. No, we don't want to leave. So looking at the standings though, as you can see, it's a little bit of a different colour for XR8 because it is gold, because they have claimed the championship out of the Netherlands, beating ABE, UFRT, SKG, and XPG. to the title. What a crazy, crazy day it was last week. We're still missing 3 drivers. I'm not sure which 3 drivers we are missing. We're missing an ABE, but that drive dropped out. We're missing an XPG as well. So those are the 2 drivers that we're missing. A Red Bull, I think we're missing. We are missing a UFRT car. Who are we missing? Yeah, we're missing 1 driver there at the moment. And we've got the final 16th driver in. And we're going to go in. But what a championship it's been for, of course, XR8. Claimed their 3rd victory last race of the season in 8 races. ABE, of course, no points last week. Their first race of the season without a single point. But we're into the qualifying now. It's, of course, an 18-minute qualifying session in the Middle East, in Bahrain. It's going to be very, very interesting to see here tonight. It's a strange sort of, I think, finale. Of course, I don't think a lot of drivers have had Bahrain as a finale on their sort of final race of the season. I don't think a lot of leagues do use that, and this has just decided to explode. But as you can see, 16 drivers in, we're missing just 2, and that is 1 UFRT and 1 XPG. XPG, of course, looking fifth in the constructors. It would, with 1 driver, it is impossible for them to get up to any higher. Actually, it's impossible for them to get up to 4th in the constructors. That's kind of fallen away from them. But we've already got 1 car coming out of the pits, and it is AB Edward. AB pull the trigger to head out of the pits to be the first out there. Of course, as you can see, it is sunset. Like usual, it's an 18-minute qualifying session as he just completely cuts the pit lane exit. But it's an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a lovely, I believe it's 29 lap race or 28 lap race. I think it's 29 laps. Yes, it is. It is a 29 lap race. Bahrain, always an interesting track. Of course, it's the opening race of the season on the game. It's the opening it's the first track most people go to and practice on. So, of course, it was the opening race of the 2024 official F1 season as well. So, that's another one. But when you look at this sort of track, it's got a good combination. Of course, as you can see, this downhill hairpin causes a lot of problems for a lot of drivers. And I think we're going to be seeing it for quite a few. We've got a few drivers now out on track. We've got actually quite a few drivers coming out onto track. But through all of that, it is AB who lead away for qualifying. Of course, losing the championship last race, no points last race. Just to put it out there, there are 2 teams, the top 2 teams. I did actually a points thing for the top 2. For all the teams in 4s for who scored the most points and who have scored the least. ABE have scored the 7th most points in 4s with 233 points scored so far over there. I believe they're 3 seasons. As you can see, AB Edward into turn 1. He throws the car in, first car on a lap, a little bit close to that Williams, over the bump and over the curbs. Onto the next straight he goes. Once again with DRS, he's going to have to wait a little while as he's got the rest of Sector 1. Turn 4, of course, quite a difficult corner. You can spin it, but ultimately he makes it through just all right with a 28.457 as the first sector. A little bit wide through there, a little bit wide again onto the curb. Onto the brakes to the next right-hander. We saw a couple of moments here last season, but it's looking pretty all right for Edwards so far. Into the downhill hairpin, it's probably the hardest corner on the entire circuit. He takes up the corner cone, but he does make it round. And now heading down once again with DRS for the final time in this lap. There's a little bit of wiggling, quite strange to see on his lap, but he makes his way around the left-hander. What's the full name of the SKG team? I do not know. Do not ask me. Ask SKG. Do not ask me. I'm sorry. I don't know. Joe Eliminator. Into the final corner, though, Edward goes. Let's see. What is he going to do when he crosses the line? It's not looking like the most perfect of laps. It's looking a little bit rough. It's a 1 minute 27.621, and already better than me on this game, so I cannot chat at all. Ryan Benink up to the line next. This man won in Tier 1. He goes to a 26.820. He won the Tier 1 race round Bahrain, and XRA are leading again here. Simba following close behind Smokey. A bit slower on his lap there, not as good for himself. I think Robbie's crossing the line next. Yes, he does. Robbie goes fastest of all. 1 minute 26.685. XR8, 1, 2, and 3 at the moment. Warner goes into 5th. Not too bad. Yeah, I know you are. I know you did just ask me, but I don't know. I don't know what their full name is. Oh, what do you... Bro, seriously, Ivy went into 7th, but interestingly, Anto goes P3. Very solid there from himself to go P3. I believe that is the team of AB, is it? I believe it's AB, unless I'm being stupid because I've watched these cars the whole season. It is XPG. No, it's SKG. Sorry, I'm so stupid. It's SKG. Edward just went still P5 on his lap. Flores went P6. Smokey still slowest of all. Yeah. So at the moment, looking pretty close. I think we've got Pesci coming up to line next. He goes P2. Very good lap from Pesci. Really trying to hold on to that 3rd place in the constructors ahead of SKG. SKG need a couple of big laps now for this season. Very much they need quite a few big laps coming their way. Bourbon Boy coming up next. Let's see how he can do. Of course, out on his own for XPG here tonight. Whoa! What a lap! 26.6 on the dot. Bourbon Boy goes to provisional pole by 85 thousandths of a second. Looking pretty close at the moment, as I believe we just saw It's Wooder go P7. But what a lap from himself. And for the first time in a while, XPG are looking pretty quick out on track for the first time in a couple of races. XPG, by the way. Yeah, I know it's an invalid invite in the description. I will quickly fix that just now. But XPG actually have the most points. They have the most points ever in falls. They have the most. Yes, they do have the most. Don't mind the pause screen. I'm currently updating the invite link. No, I know how to set it, but it's because I don't update the stream. I don't have it fully updated for everything. I'm doing that for next season because I just don't have the time. Half the time, I don't have the time to do it. Or I forget. But Milan, into the final corner. He's shown what he could do for SKG in Tier 1. Let's see if he could show it here in fours. He goes only P5 behind 4 other drivers and 0.310 tenths off of provisional pole at the moment. So not the best of first laps from himself. I think we've got Samuel Gill on a lap. He went P8, so he's looking pretty good for ABE. ABE looking like they want to get some extra points here tonight. It's only 3, but so that's not too bad. Who's just started a lap? I believe that is Deck, who's just started a lap. Making his way round for UFRT. One thing I'll always say about UFRT is they've been pretty consistent this season. You know, I think they've had a rough race or two, but they've been one of the most consistent teams on the grid. Probably even more consistent than ABE, I'd say. They have definitely been more consistent. The glory hasn't been there so much. I don't think UFRT have won a race this season, but they're definitely fighting to hold on to that. You know, hold on to that third in the constructors. There is no prize money, of course, for any of the positions in the constructors, but of course it is always one of the things. So champions of both tier 1 and 4s usually get automatic qualification for the next season, but sadly, because next season is going to be on F1 25, neither champions on this season's game of XR8 and AMS, neither of them are going to get automatic qualification for either tier. So that's a bit disappointing for them, of course. You know, they would have been hoping for that. But across the line, Deck goes P6. Solid lap from himself. That's Anto, who's just on a lap. Who is on a fast lap? That's Smokey, who's making his way around rather quickly. He's up by almost 0.4 of a second. Okay, I think he dropped off a lot, but he's up by 0.4 of a second on his fastest lap, so I have to see whether it is just the final sector where he slowed down a lot. SKG, massive push from them in the constructors. This race, they should overtake UFRT for third in the constructors, but their qualifying isn't looking too quick. Smokey only goes P10. So at the moment it is P5, P7, P10 and P11 from all the drivers for the moment. That's Flores starting a lap. We've got one of the Red Bulls, and that is Warrener making his way up. Let's see how he can cross the line. He improves, but he still stays quite low. And that was Lewin Skiller starting a lap. I think we've got it's Wooder, who's also going to be starting a lap as well. I think that is Pesci, who's starting a lap. It's Anto, who's next up to the line. And let's see where he goes. He does improve by over 0.3 of a second to go P4. And a solid lap from himself. Then it's Deck, who's coming around, who's on his in-lap anyway. Then we have Simba making his way around. He's P8 at the moment. He's got to find over 0.6 of a second to pull himself onto provisional pole. Can he do it? He nearly does it. He does the exact same lap time as his teammate, Robbie. What a lap from himself. Got to say, very, very strong lap there. I think we just saw Edward cross the line and go P11. Not too bad. I think that's Ryan Benink. Ryan Benink, though, has invalidated on his lap. Ivy's making his way around. He's very far off of any of these positions, but Ivy is on his way in. We've got Flores coming around. He hasn't invalidated. AB needing a strong showing from all of their drivers tonight to at least have a final push. And across the line, he goes P8, and that is a pretty solid one in the end. Not too bad. I think, who's next? I think it is, no, it's not Ryan Benink. It is Lewin Skiller who's crossing line. He goes P2, 51 thousandths off a provisional pole still. That little bit too far behind for now. It's Wooder goes P9. Not too bad from himself. Pesci's coming up to the line next. Was he improving or not? He did not improve on his lap, but he might be pushing again. Anto isn't pushing on his lap, but Bourbon Boy is, but he's down by over 1.5 on his previous lap. So far, it's a strange one, I think. Clearly, the first and second runs, not a lot more time being found for many drivers. I mean, we saw Simba found time, Robbie didn't, Bourbon Boy, didn't. A lot of drivers not finding the time they want to get. Samuel Gill is finding a bit of time, a 10th in the middle sector. What does he do when he crosses the line? He goes up by 1.5, but it's not enough to improve his position in the end. Ryan Benink is making his way around. He's up by about 0.2. When he crosses the line, he goes 1/4 of a second faster, and that is a 26.580 to go onto provisional pole, and that is enough for XR8 to claim another pole position this season in their huge amount of pole positions they have taken all season long in their pretty dominant period they've had in the last couple of races. Still, through all of this, It's very, very close at the top. I mean, 0.105 tenths split the top 5 at the moment, but 4 of those 5 drivers are XR8 drivers. Bourbon Boy being the only one outside of that. Hello, Isaiahs. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well on this great day. Who is on a fast lap at the moment? I think there's a McLaren out on track. That's Milan, who's on his out lap. I think we'll go with him. Yes, this is very much, it is Bahrain. Final race of the season for Force. Will we see another race winner? UFRT are the only team on the grid now to have not won a race yet. They're still the only team yet to have won a race in Force. Will they win? They're looking pretty close. They're P6 at the moment, not too far off, less than 2 tenths away from provisional pole. But let's ride on board with Milan on his lap, using that right-hand side, moving over to the left, braking hard. Milan hasn't looked like he's had the pace exactly so far. He's over 3 tenths behind provisional pole at the moment by Ryan Benink. SKG need big points tonight to get third in the constructors. They really need to be beating UFRT, but so far they're not going to be doing that. Pesci will get 7 points, Anto will get 5, then 2 from Itzwooder, so 7, so equaling out, and then 3 more. So it's going to go from 7 to 10, but that isn't enough to overtake UFRT. They need to get, I think, it's something like 7 or 8 points more. We'll have a look at it while we wait between the race and qualifying. We'll have a look at the standings. Whoa, and that's a big moment for Milan. Don't think his lap is going to be cultivating to anything. If he keeps doing that, I don't think he's going to get away with anything here. Robbie is on another lap. Robbie on his out lap. Let's see. XR8 looking pretty dominant here again. Just like in the Netherlands. They weren't so dominant qualifying, but in the race they turned it around with a 1-2 finish. Will they do it again here tonight? Will they make it a 1-2 finish, or will they make it a 1-2-3-4 finish? Robbie starts off his lap. Once again, he's now the only driver on an actual lap, I believe. He's the only driver on an actual lap, followed by Milan. Robbie into turn 1. He needs to get that car turned in. He's a bit off of pole at the moment. He's just over a tenth behind his teammate, Ryan Benink, from that pole position. So he needs to find a little bit more time. Let's see what he can do. If he can be up by, I'd say, maybe even 300ths in this first sector, I think that would be a massive plus for him. It will really help him out. Is he up? He's up by over a tenth of a second already in the first sector. So he's putting together a perfect lap so far. This is going to set him quite a bit ahead of Ryan Benink, but still, the hundredths, it's only by hundredths of a second, but that has been the difference all night long in this qualifying session. A little bit missing the apex there, a little bit rough off of the exit for Robbie. Can he hold the rest of this lap together? He's still the only driver with Milan. Milan's gone off, by the way, and so Robbie's the only driver currently on a lap. Let's see how he's going to do as he makes his way round. Milan is retired from the session on track, which isn't too smart, but looking perfect from Robbie. He's pushing the track all the way he can. He's going all the way up to the track limits. He's pushing it every which way. He is really pulling everything he can out of that car. And let's see up to the line. What can Robbie do when he does cross the line? It is provisional pole. It's a 26.451. They've dipped into the 26s now. And they are pushing all out for these final moments of qualifying. Edward is down by 7 thousandths in his first sector. That's not what he needs. He needs to gain almost 2 tenths of a second just to go up 2 places. So he's got a lot of time to find. And being down is not good for the first sector. Let's see what Edward can do as he makes his way around. These are the final runs. Just 25 seconds left of qualifying. Everybody, I think, should make it around. There's still 4 drivers on outlaps. Ivy hasn't come out for another lap. And so that is his qualifying over. 1 driver still left to cross the line. That's Pesci. He is going to cross the line. So everybody has made it in time. Robbie on provisional pole for the moment. But who can beat him when it comes down to the end of their laps? Can they get their laps together and beat the XR8 team to pole? And qualifying is now over. Ivy's the first one to finish it. Somebody's gone off a bit. And I believe that was Warren who went off with the yellow flag. Let's see what Edward can do when he crosses the line. And across the line he goes. He goes up to P10, and what an improvement in his lap. I think we got Smokey up to the line next. He's improving slightly. He goes to only P13. It's not where he wants to go. Deck is coming up to the line next. Also small improvements. He goes P9. What a lap that was from himself. Anto is next. And he goes P6. Only a small improvement on his lap in the end. I believe we got Simba. No, he's stopped on his lap. Robbie is coming in. I think that is Lewin Skillo who's coming up to the line next. No, he's invalidated in the end. It is Bourbon Boy, the only XPG driver out there, coming up to the line. Can he beat anybody? No, he can't. He goes slower. And that is the end to his qualifying. It's Wooder was improving, but had a really rough final corner, as you can see in the background. And we've got Samuel Gill coming up to the line. He's invalidated as well. Is Ryan Benink improving? No, he's not. And that is his session over with that lovely spin to cross the line. Flores up to the line. Where did he go? He goes up to P11, a small improvement. Pesci goes P4. And what a lap from himself. I think we only have Warren up to the line. He stays P15. And finally, Simba, who's not improving on his lap. But it is ultimately Robbie who's on pole. And it is then XR812 once again. Then Bourbon Boy in third. Then Pesci. And then Lewin Skiller in fifth. Those are your top five. What a session that was. What a session it was. We're just waiting to see where everybody's going to go. Everybody is interested about the Red Bulls at the moment of Warren and Ivy. 8/10 of a 14th. Looks like they're going to have a pretty long day at the back of the grid when it comes down to the race. I hope everybody is enjoying the stream. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like if you are enjoying it. But, yeah, what an interesting end. It is Robbie on pole, followed by Ryan Benink, Bourbon Boy, Pesci, Lewin Skiller, Simba, Anto, Milan, Deck, and Itzwiller to finish out the top 10. Then it is Flores, Edward, Smokey, Samuel Gill, Warrener, and Ivy to finish off the grid here tonight. What an end it was. It is just one qualifying session. It's just one qualifying session because we don't want to take the whole night doing qualifying sessions, of course. We're going to sort out when we're going to get going. Going to sort when we're going to get going. But yeah, so what an interesting end to qualifying. I mean, it was kind of expected, in all fairness. It was kind of what I expected for qualifying. XR8 kind of was showing the pace reasonably early on. I think in all fairness, they were kind of showing that from almost the beginning of qualifying that they were number one and they were quickest. I think the only real person competing in there was Bourbon Boy from the start. I think Pesci with that final lap was good enough as well. But I think altogether, I think it was pretty much, I think we can all agree it was mostly Bourbon Boy in there. I think coming down to race-wise, of course, XR8 know they've won the title, but they do want to take that fourth win in the season. They do want to take a fourth win. SKG, though, tonight, they're looking really far off in pace. They're nowhere close to where they've been in recent weeks. Fighting for the win last week. To now, took pole, fighting for the win for pretty much the entire race, but a mistake cost them to this race now, battling towards the lower points positions, and looking like they might not even be able to overtake UFRT. It's not looking too great at all for SKG. Really rough week. Pesci still carrying UFRT, in all honesty, still very much carrying the team every week pretty much from that man. At the moment, if I was to say who's the best team on the grid, because this was something that somebody asked me in the chat a few in an interview a few weeks back, I think, was who's the best team on the grid? You know, I think they said about how they thought their team was the best on the grid. Of course, I knew they were going to say that. But in all honesty, if I was to look at it so far this season, the best team has got to be XR8. They had a bit of a slow start, a bit of an off start, especially missing Abu Dhabi, but this season far better. They turned it around after round 5, and they've completely dominated since. Sorry, after round 4, they've completely dominated round 4 onwards. And I think after round 5, when they got their back-to-back wins, I think everybody kind of knew that was kind of the benchmark. AB were up there, but they lost the Constructors' Championship lead. And, XR8 have kind of run away with it since. XPG got in there with a victory. I think this season, looking at the standings, you can see, XR8 have... XPG, of course, got that win in round 5. XR8 got the win in round 3 and 4. UFRT yet to win this season. ABE, of course, have taken, their 2 wins. XR8 with 2, SKG with 2. Still, UFRT is the only team yet to win. Pesci in P4. He's got a chance, but I can hear the lights are about to go for the final race of the season. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in Bahrain for FRLT4's round number 9 of season 4. And it's not been a good start for Pesci. He's dropping down the order quite quickly. It is now XR8 1, 2, 3. And it's a great start from themselves. Look at that. They're trying to even get up to 4th. And they've all gone for the soft tyre. Somebody's gone off. That's Simba who's dropping down the order. His luck this season has been terrible. He's down to last place. And that is not the start you would want in this race. And that's completely the opposite of what they would have wanted. And you can just see how it is getting along for them. Smokey gaining some position. Samuel Gill has also had a bit of a moment as he drops down. But it is still 1, 2, 3 for XR8. They're still taking a huge amount of points here tonight. As opposed to a low amount of points that they could have been getting. And this is so far not looking too bad. And it's a brilliant start. Of course, they've gone all for the soft tyres. Strange strategy maybe to break away from the rest of the grid. Pesci down to P... He's still in P4. He's held on to it. But he is now over 1 second behind the XR8 trio. And you could just see how this car is struggling on the hard tyres. He's gone for the hard tyres. So, of course, I think XR8 know that they've won the title. And so they're just going for a bit of fun now. At the end of the season, just pushing out on the soft tyres. We can see they're gaining huge amounts of time. Already 1.5 seconds ahead. That's just gaining more and more, 1.7. But you can see that first is now almost about 3 seconds away. And so for Pesci, it's been a really, that's not really the start you would have wanted, sort of expected it, but not, already this big of a gap. But here comes the man of Bourbon Boy. Sort of rounding outside on the racing line, though. He's going to try and take it. It's Wooder behind as well, trying to make his way past. Round the outside, he gets Pesci, and that's 2 places down for the UFRT driver. And that now puts SKG in the best position to win, to take 3rd in the Constructors. As it's Wooder goes down the inside of Bourbon Boy and claims that P4. Of course, he's also on the soft tyres, by the way, so... Who knows, strategy-wise, at the moment, Bourbon Boy and Pesci both have the upper hand, same as Milan, Anto, Deck. Smokey, though, on those soft tyres, but he's only up to P10. He's only up to that 1-point position, so it's not looking perfect for himself. Simba's brought himself back up. He's into P13. He's also going to be trying to get the man of AB, Edward, in before the next corner. Unable to, though. Straight line speed is not enough for himself. It's Wooder, though, also losing time to the front 3.2 seconds now behind. That's roughly about 4 seconds off for the lead now. And that's very, very far behind. And not where you really want to be, in all honesty. Not where you want to be at all. But at least all 16 drivers have made it past a few... The first lap or two. Smokey makes his way up to P9 ahead of Deck. And that's a position gain. For SKG, it's an important position gain as well. The 2 groups have very much formed. Robbie now takes the lead of the race away from Ryan Benink. Perfect there from Robbie himself. And that is very good for XR8 to be 1, 2, 3. You can see Simba's now trying to get past the man of Edward for P12. It's not working out. Simba's really struggling. That spin sent him off a bit, but he's still, mistakes from Simba this season. We saw in Tier 1, and we're seeing again here. And down and around the outside, Simba makes the move on Edward for that position. We can see Milan trying to get past Pesci. He does, and that's up to P6 for Milan. And at the moment, I believe that would be the Constructors. That would be third in the Constructors' Championship, and SKG's, I believe, confirmed second. I think it's going to be their second trophy, confirmed their second trophy in FRLT in a single season, which is pretty nice to have. I must say, SKG debuting here in, they've had just, this is their 4th race, I think? Yeah, their 4th race. 4 out of 9 races they've done, and they're already on their way to claim third in the Constructors to take a trophy. And that's Simba, who's had another moment, and he's into the wall, and he's actually got some wing damage as well. Simba this season, holy, this man has caused me more pain to watch than anyone, I think. Last season, of course, he was Mr. Consistent with P5s. I think he had 3 P5 finishes across the season in Tier 1. Now here he is in 4s and Tier 1. He's been unable to reach those same heights. Bourbon Boy now takes P4. That's a good move made. Past Itwood of the soft tyres. Maybe starting to go off just slightly, maybe. See those seconds not being pulled away as much. Only 4.1 seconds now is the gap between 3rd and 4th. And you can see a couple of moves happening further back. Smokey and Anto. And Smokey gets P8. That's a good position gained and up to 3 points. Scoring for Smokey. Remember, there is no Drivers' Championship for 4s. There's no Drivers' Championship at all. It is only Constructors' Championship. The Drivers' Championship is for Tier 1. And that will be sorted after round number 10 of the season, after Wednesday. It will be sorted probably around Saturday or Sunday time. So you'll find out the Drivers' Champion in Tier 1 very soon, next week, actually, next weekend. I am a bit sad, in all honesty, that this is the final race of 4s in the season. I am, it is a bit sad for me that this is the final race. We've had quite a lot of races as my keyboard decides to just completely disconnect. Stupid. But, yeah. It does make me a bit sad, in all honesty. I think it's really been a great season, especially here in 4s. And I think, seeing the comeback of XR8 from sort of 50-point deficit in the championship, now bringing it back, been incredible. As you can see, Milan now going down the inside of Bourbon Boy, both on the hard tyres, but Bourbon Boy gets that exit speed, and that is what you need around the outside. But that grip is just enough on the hard tyres at the moment. But just to point out here, the top 3 aren't pulling away as much as they were. They're not pulling away as much. It's only 4.3, so it's only gone up by about 0.2 in the last lap for the soft runners, for the top 3 pulling ahead. So I think maybe the hard runners are now picking up pace, and the softs have gone off. As you can see, they're not really gaining time anymore through the corners, but still 4 seconds, even if, undercut from XR8 would be massive, but even then, tyre wear, they might have to do a 2-stop in this race, which of course would completely annihilate any chance of points, especially with how close the grid currently is. You've got quite a few, you've got sort of 4 drivers in this group, 4th down to 7th is just one group, and then just about 2 seconds back is the next group of another 4 drivers. But it's the top 3 who lead away, and it is XR8 in all of the top 3 places, covering the podium at the moment. Who is going to go in first? Who's going in? Nobody's going in yet. Still going longer on these tyres. Bourbon Boy opening the rear wing. Same with Milan. So they pull down the pit straights. Itwood goes down to P6. The gap is close. You can see actually in the corners now. The hards are kind of equaling out with the soft tyres. But they're just slightly slower at the moment on those hard tyres. Just for the moment. But it definitely is closing now. The performance is definitely getting closer. Look at that. The time is actually really starting to come down. 4.3. So they're actually finding quite a bit of time now. Pesci down the inside. He sends it on. It's Wooder. But it's an easy move for him up to P6. And a chance to reclaim UFRT's third in the Constructors to claim their one and only trophy in Season 4. And on F1 24. I will say there is it is quite interesting though. This is the final season, of course, we're doing on F1 24, Season 4, final season on this game. But it's like Season 2 was really exciting. We had quite a few race winners, but there was still, there was AMS who won 6 races, and there was CRE who won 3 races. So 9 out of the 13 races were won by just the top 2. And now if you look at, we've only got, we've done 9 races this season, but if you look at it, the top 3 have only, first has won 4 races, but, only 6 wins between the top 3 in the Constructors in Tier 1. The complete difference of that they've only won 60% of the season. That's the top 3. And, 4 other teams have won. XR8 have won. XR8 have won. XPG have won. A race SET have won. I think TTRE won a race. I think. I do not know. Do not trust me on that. I am trying to remember who else might have won a race. I think they did. I think they might have. I can't remember, but I will double check that. But either way, we've had, a lot of these teams winning races and stuff. And no, TTRE didn't win. Because I know AMS have 4, SKG 1, EVR 1, so that's 6. XPG 1, XR8 1, so that's 8. SET won a race. I'm really trying to remember because we've done 9. I can only think of 8. Quite strange nonetheless. But past that, we've seen in Tier 1 it's gotten closer and closer. The top 3 have only won 60% of the races this season. Which is completely different from, of course, 9 wins out of 13 for just the top 2. But I think this is why, I think the seasons have gotten closer as the game's gotten on. We know that, we've seen that with Force from the beginning. Force, Season 2, was incredibly close. In Force, it was margins. Literally, I think it was 3 teams still could win the Constructors into the final race. That was how Force went in Season 2. It's the first ever Season 4s. Then this season, not this season, last season, Season 3, SCT versus TTRE, it came down to the final race of the season still. It came down to the final race. And SCT, a shock, shockingly somehow won it from right underneath TTRE, even though TTRE won the first 4 races of the season. As AB Edward gets the first penalty of tonight with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. This is what I mean. Is it's very interesting. Somebody's had a moment, and I think Edward might have gotten a little bit annoyed and is in the wall. It's definitely, he might have gotten a little bit annoyed there. But exactly. It's been completely different. As now Robbie and Ryan Benink go in. So they both go in. Where are they going to come out in all of this, though? That's the big question, because they're already down to 6th and 7th. And they're going to drop outside the top 10, there's no doubt. Yeah, they're outside 10th and 11th. That's where they are. Somebody's gone off. That's Samuel Gill. He's been disqualified from the session. My God, okay. Warrener, by the way, also gets past. Robbie and Ryan Biddings, they do both come out outside of the top 10. But yeah, I think last season was a bit more straightforward because I think it was just 2 teams in the championship. Very much it was. As now AB Edward retires from the race. It was just 2 teams really in the championship. And that was SCT and TTRE. They were really the only 2 teams in the Constructors' Championship in Season 3. And then I think this season, of course, has been incredibly close. We saw, ABE led away at first, TTRE close behind, XR8 close behind, UFRT also in there. And then as the season sort of has gone on, we notice XR8 sort of coming back. There's back-to-back wins in round 3 and 4, brought them back into the championship contention, took the lead of the championship at around 4, I believe, and never looked back. UFRT and new team SKG coming in and taking it, as now Lewin Skiller makes his way into the pits. Final of them. Where is he gonna come out? Because it's Wooder's also come in. Where's it's Wooder? Where is he gonna come out? Is he going to come out behind? Because I think he is. Because he's still rolling down the pit lane. Same as Smokey. Onto the hard tyre he goes. Where is he going to... How far behind is he coming out? Where has Lewin Skiller come out? Lewin Skiller is going to come out right there. Along with his teammate Robbie. Very, very close to a collision there. A little bit too close to a collision there. But now they're 7th, 8th, and 9th in this race. But this is what I've spoken about in sort of previous. It's SKG who now lead, by the way. SKG lead for the first time tonight. Whoa! The massive slide from Bourbon Boy. Absolutely huge slide from himself. But yeah, this is, as I was going to say, this is what I've spoken about in previous races. The sort of difference in championship. We've kind of had 3 different Constructors' Championships. We've had in Season 3, we've had the usual 2 constructors against each other. Then we've got, the 2 sort of leaders. And then we've got, this season we've sort of had sort of 1 lead and then a comeback from another team. And in Season 2, of course, we had sort of 3-4 teams all in the title chance, all of them still battling. And in all fairness, I think when you look at it, you see that all 4 of those teams, I think, only did 1 season, and that was that season. It's Bourbon Boy now leads. SKG get 1 lap led here tonight, and now that's immediately taken away as XPG won to lead a lap. I'll actually bring up those points again that I mentioned about when I worked them out. I mean, when you look at it, I'll just give you a rough idea because I can only see a few of them. XR8 this season, by the way, with the amount of points they've scored, they're currently... So I have the top 9. So here it is. So VRT are last. Okay, Joe Eliminator. Have a great day. Hopefully I will see you once again on Wednesday. But VRT are last. They only scored 16 points. Then it's DRFP1, IFE, who only did 1 season. VEL, of course, have only did 1 season. That was last season. They're 13th. SKG this season, 12th. UFRT, of course, both teams debuting this season are 12th and 11th. Then it's LR, who did only season number 2, and they're 10th. HDL 9th. XR8 this season, the crown champions, are 8th in the constructors. As it's going, they... as it would stand, they will overtake ABE in the constructors. If they go up to 1, 2, 3, they will overtake ABE for total points, and then move up to 7th and possibly even 6th in the all-time standings. 7th is ABE. They have 233. TIR, who only did 1 season ever, have 244. TTRE have 268, and you can see a bit of battling between XR8. Who's going to take P7? It's Robbie once again, who's leading away with that P7. TTRE, they're 5th. They broke into 5th place. They did 2 seasons, I believe, and that's why they're 5th. POR, they did 1 season, and they still got 268, including this season as well. POR did only 1 season. They got 270. AERO only did 1 season. They got 298. The only 2 teams above 300 points was previous season's champions, Season 3's champions, SET with 316 points. They competed in 2 seasons. And XPG, who have competed in all 3 seasons of Falls and sit with 389 points. They lead the all-time standings. And as it would be tonight if they were to if Born Boy was to finish where he is, they'll surpass 400 points, become the first team to do that. And I mean, at the moment, XR8 will overtake AB for 7th in the all-time points. But if they get up to a 1, 2, 3, I think they could. So they'll take 18. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out when we get to it. But Born Boy retakes the lead of the race. I will figure it out when I get to it. But I think, I know that might have been a little bit boring, but I think that's so interesting looking at the stats. Deck gets off into P4 ahead of Anto. So if we were to actually work this out roughly, with Simba out of a chance of any points, they got a point for pole. If they get a point for fast lap, that's only 2 points. If they get 18, then 15, and then 13, they'd get 48 points. So they could potentially get up to, they might not just overtake for 7th in the all-time points. They might also get up to 6th ahead of TIR. Now, of course, XR8 do want to compete again next season, so we might even see them climb up a bit more. If they do another season like this, another 200 odd points, they'll eventually become the leaders in the all-time points. Warner comes into the pits, but yeah, I think I feel bad for XPG though. 389 points in 3 seasons, not too bad. That is a decent amount of points. They're going to come out with sort of over 100 points per season, which is actually a really good average to have. Over 100 points a season is really good. But the one depressing fact for XPG is that they haven't achieved that many race wins. Only 1 win this season, by the way. They haven't won a single championship for scoring 389 points. They're still they're the highest scoring team without a championship. SCT and AERO, they both won championships and they're 2nd and 3rd in the all-time points. So it's a disappointing one, I think, and I think that's something that XPG sort of carries with them slightly, that they do struggle to get numbers to race. They also struggle to get the right drivers who perform well enough, and they do have their glimpses of glory. They do get glimpses of glory. We saw that this season with their win in, I think it was Austria. That was a really good win for them this season, as Smokey comes into the pits once again. But yeah, that was an incredible moment for XPG, to take their win in the season. It would kind of help their championship push, but since then it's kind of been downhill in the last couple of races. But with all of it, you take it all in and you actually realise XPG is one of the most consistent teams on the grid. And so, I've got to give it to them. But back onto the race. Let's focus on the race. A couple of laps have gone by now. Not a lot of action. Not a lot of action on track. Very much drivers keeping to themselves out there. Not much really happening for the moment. Who's going to be coming in? Anybody in? Nobody's in out of these top 3. Anto, Floris, and Deck have all got a couple of seconds dividing them at the moment between themselves. You can see the XR8 trio, though, is slowly catching up to the back of these guys. It's taking them a while, though. It's on to lap 15. And we're past the halfway point of the race. And XR8 are still 7th, 8th, and 9th on worn hard tyres. But we'll have a look at the tyres now. Everybody from 7th down to 14th has stopped. And you see already Robbie, Ryan Benink, and Lewin Skiller on sort of laps of 5-6 laps on the tyres, same as it's Wooder. So these guys have got worn tyres already. By the end of the race, they're going to have quite worn tyres. So they'll have to pull it out of the bag, but I think they might have just squandered a victory here and really good points. May pull themselves up in the all-time point scoring positions. Would have been, I would have liked to see them do that, overtake ABE, and see them take 7th in the all-time stats. That's it's a really, I think for a lot of teams, it's a massive thing for them to go up in the all-time stats. UFRT, you look at UFRT and SKG, they're sitting 12th and 11th in the all-time points. And this race, as it's going, they're not going to be overtaking anybody. With that, they're going to stay 11th and 12th. Because that first season was absolute chaos. Season 2 was absolute chaos with fours. If you watched it, if you go and watch it today, you'll realise the absolute chaos that happened in that season and the amount of teams. And that's why we actually just have 16 teams that competed. We had 9 teams, by the way, in Season 2 that competed. So we've only had 7 different teams since. Bon Boy retakes the lead from Milan. A bit of a weak exit. But Lewin Skiller has finally caught up to Deck. Same as Ryan Benink, as he now makes his way past Deck. And that's up to P6 and 7 for XR8. They're pushing for that. And here comes Robbie down the inside. Can he make the move? I don't think Deck is so much willing to let the Williams pass, but it is Robbie who makes his way up to P8. And they're working through this as a trio, which is incredible teamwork. You know, watching this incredible teamwork from XR8 as they slowly push their way up the order. And look at this, Lewin Skiller catching Flores a bit off guard there, but it's not enough for now. It isn't enough to make his way past just yet. Just yet. There's a little bit of a longer way before he can do anything. But remember, he's still got a massive... Even once they get past, and there he goes. He gets past with quite a bit of ease. And so does Robbie. All 3 getting past on the same straight. But still, they've still got a massive sort of 13.5 second gap to P3. You know, to the sort of leaders. So they've got a long way to go. It's about a 20-second pit stop. It's about 19 to 23 second pit stop. So they'll be hoping for something a bit more. They'll be hoping for a little bit more here tonight. They really want to get that. Milan retakes the lead of the race because Bon Boy's led for quite a few laps now. He's led, I think, 3-4 laps for XPG. So at least they're getting their sort of numbers up for laps led. Ryan Benink makes his way past his teammate. Unable to catch Anto just yet. Remember, they're getting on those sort of those hard tyres. You know, they've put in a couple of laps of work on them now, and still they're quite far away from the leaders. That's not where you really want to be. I think the soft tyres was a bit too bold of a strategy. So we might be seeing SKG, XPG, and UFRT all in a battle tonight over who can win this race. Will UFRT take their first and only win of the season and end out the season in a crazy way? Will SKG achieve a 3rd win in 4 races? Or will XPG do a bit of a comeback and settle the odds for this tough season? They might settle for 5th in the Constructors, but they will take 2 victories across the season. Who knows at the moment? Look at how XR8 are closing up. And there goes Lewin Skiller on Anto for P4. That's a nice move made. And look at this. Ryan Benink also trying to make his way past around the outside. Anto's not really letting the XR8 driver have an easy time getting past him. And look at this. It's actually proving to be a little bit more difficult for Ryan Benink to get past the Sauber. And there goes another man of Robbie, who's also trying to make the move, as he does make the move with absolute ease. No difficulty there. But again, the only problem we're going to see for the XR8 trio now is that they're stuck without any DRS, and they're going to be losing time down every single straight because they don't have DRS at all. They might be quicker in the corners, but you can see still 13.1 seconds is the gap. They've only closed it by about 3/10, coming down by about 2 to 3/10 in the last sort of 2 laps now. So the gap isn't hugely closing at the moment for them, and it's not really what you need. I think the hard tides are going through a tough phase now, but they've got these on for another 11 laps, by the way. Another 11. They've got a very, very long way to go in this race. But 2 drivers that have fascinated me this race, or not really, is Warner and Ivy. Yeah, they're on their own in this race. Same as qualifying. They're 8/10 off of anybody in qualifying, with Ivy another, I think, 7/10 further behind. But these two they're just having a race on their own at the moment, in all honesty. They know nobody can catch them. They know that they can just work off of each other and just take an all-right result for the team in the end. And that's kind of... That's sort of what they're going to have to take for this race, in all honesty. You know, that's just what they're going to have. They're probably going to get lapped. Simba's been lapped. They might get lapped. Maybe not. Who knows? They have stopped, so we'll have to see. But Pesci, for the first time, UFRT lead here tonight. Their first couple of meters being led, by the way, for UFRT. Pesci's been waiting a while in that P3 position to take the lead, but he's been able to do it into turn 1, and so He should I believe he should be able to lead all the way throughout this lap. And he's setting a personal best at the moment. It's looking pretty good. But I think Pesci should be able to lead for the rest of this lap. So we might even see UFRT lap led here. UFRT's been a bit of a strange team when it comes down to leading laps. They've led... It's not like they've led none. They've led... If my count is right, they've led over 30 laps this season. Out of 9 races, they've led, I think, 30 or... I think they've led about between 30 to maybe 45 laps, I think it is. I think they've led something between about maybe 35 to 45 laps. Over the Force calendar. So it's not like they haven't led anything. They have led quite a large chunk of the seasons. They've led at least sort of 1 to 2 races, or about 1.5 races this season. But they haven't been able to clinch that victory. They've still been waiting on it, and it just hasn't worked out for them as UFRT do complete another lap in the lead. But this is my only thing, is that really, by the way, Milan on his way in, he's going to the soft tyre slightly early. He wants to get the undercut as he rolls out of the pits. Where's he going to come out? He's P6. He's quite far behind. There's still Deck, still on those hard tyres. He's going even longer. So Milan down to P7. Not good for SKG at the moment. P7, 8, and 10 right now. So P7, P8, P10. Not a lot of points coming their way. 8 points. So 9 points coming their way here tonight. It's not gone the way for SKG. And that was just enough to overtake UFRT. But we'll have to see, especially with Pesci in second. That means they won't overtake and they'll stay fourth in the Constructors. And UFRT will claim their first ever trophy in FRLT. Becoming another team to claim the trophy. But this season, by the way, has actually counted to quite a few new teams taking trophies. One, UFRT taking their first ever trophy, and their first ever Force trophy of third as it stands. In Tier 1, of course, SKG on their way to take their first ever trophy, along with EVR as well. So we've got 3 different teams who at the moment are going to be taking their first ever trophies in Force. But where is the XR8 trio? There they are. They're coming around the final corner now, as the drivers have just slotted into their pit boxes, as now Pesci makes his way out. And there they are. They've just gone past now. But can they hold on to this lead? It's Wooder has disconnected from the race. We might have to invite him. Milan's gotten in front of the 2 of them, but not very far in front. Born Boy 5th, Pesci in 6th. How much, though, is Milan catching up to these top 3? Because there's about 7 seconds dividing them at the moment. So how much are they actually going to catch? That's... Whoa, okay. 3 tenths in one corner. Milan throwing the car around. Okay, I think this might actually be a race up to the line, because that's 6.3 seconds already. I don't think XR8 have gone for the best strategy here. They've gone for a very weak strategy, and I don't think a 1, 2, 3 is particularly on, because 6 seconds, they've just lost 1 second in half a lap. This is not good for XR8, because they are just dropping time everywhere. 5.7 already. This is one of, I think, possibly the worst loss of time for any team. 5.5. 1.7 seconds at the moment in a single lap. How does anybody lose that much time? Oh my god. And that is down to 4. A mistake from Ryan Benink has brought it to 5 seconds. A 29.033 is the lap set for Milan. Fastest lap of the race. He's lost a bit of time, but the cornering, the speed difference in the corners is just a bit ridiculous. 5.1 seconds now is the time. It was 2 seconds less. It was 2 seconds more on the last lap. So at this rate, it's going to be a walk in the park for these guys. 4.8 now, just coming down all the way. have XR8 just thrown away a good victory? You know, if they just stuck to a normal strategy, have they just thrown away an easy 1-2-3? Have they just done that? Have they just thrown away a victory? Because look at this, 4.2, 4.1, 4.1 seconds now. They've lost another 9/10 in this lap. Since out of the first 3 corners, they've lost another sort of 9/10. This amount of time being lost, they're not going to be able to gain this back in any sort of way. Their tyres are going to be really struggling as well for any sort of grip, while these softs just rip into them. 3.7 now. You look at that. You can see them down the road. This is not the race for XR8 to be sort of really trying anything. And I know that they've won the championship, but if they want that 4th victory, it's down to 3.5 seconds when Milan crosses the line. As Pesci has now set the fastest lap of the race as they start to close up to the man of Milan. Slowly but surely, they're closing up. But Milan bringing it down to 3.4. Is this going to be a charge for the victory? Can SKG take a 3rd? Are XR8 going to lose out all 3 podium places? Because at the moment, they are going to, because there is 3 seconds is the gap now. It's below 3 seconds. So any penalties for track limits is now out of the chance they're going to lose at least 1 position. I just cannot believe. Half a second in half a lap. Oh, it is just coming all the way down. 2.3. Please tell me in the chat, who do you think is going to win this race? There is not long left. There is practically no time left. Just a few laps of this race to go, 6 more. But at the current rate, for XRA, it won't be much longer for leading this race because it's down to 2 seconds. It's another 1.5 seconds out of the last lap. What is going on? I must ask, what is going on here tonight? Let's see how this is going to go. Now, heading on to the next lap, it is Robbie who retakes the lead of the race. This is coming down to be really close. Below 2 seconds now. 1.9 seconds. 1.8. It is all coming down to these last couple of laps. I didn't think we'd be watching this man of Milan catching up to the top 3. He's just going to be able to glide past them with the pace difference. It won't even be a challenge. He's going to get it below a second, by the way, as well, as it stands before even the end of this lap. That's going to be another 1.3 seconds lost for XR8 here tonight. They know that they're probably not going to win this. Down to below a second, and then they've got another about 1.8 seconds back to the next car, and then Bourbon Boys next. So they know that these guys are catching them now, and Milan is onto the back of the XR8 trio. XR8 under attack here in Sakir. Here under attack at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Here in FRLT 4s for season number 4 of round number 9. And look at this, Milan's all over the back of Ryan Benink as we now come down the pit straight. Are we going to see a change? 4 positions here. We've been waiting a while to see it. Here comes Milan. Who's going to go where? It's almost going to be 3 wide. The move to the outside for Milan. He knows he can get it, but a mistake from Ryan Benink puts him in a bit of trouble. And now some ghosting from Robbie allows Milan up into P2 for now. And that is P2 for the SKG driver, and into the next corner. Oh, there's contact! There's contact! Robbie hits the side of Milan, and it is back to work again with just 4 laps of this race to go. And Milan, I think, is going to be incredibly angry with that hit on the rear. He is going to be charging for Robbie, as Robbie is almost like a sitting duck now, pace-wise. Here he comes. Look at Milan. Right on the back of Robbie. He's going to try and make a move. It looks like it's going to be an easy one for Milan to make. He knows he can make it. He's pushing. He is pushing down this straight. Now it is a 6-way fight for the win. I'm shocked that no driver so far this race has actually gotten a penalty. But this is a 6-way fight. It is the 3 XR8 drivers of Lewin Skiller, Ryan Benink, and XR8 Robbie versus SKG Milan, XPG's Bourbon Boy, and UFRT's Pesci. Let's see who is going to take this. Look at this. Milan trying to go down the inside of Robbie. But there's now 3 cars to deal with instead of 1. Last time it was just 1. A single SKG driver, a single McLaren. Now there's a McLaren, Aston Martin, and a Mercedes all to deal with at the same time. You can see Pesci's trying to make a move. He's trying to get around the outside of Bourbon Boy. But look at this. There's a lot happening. Somebody's gone off in the front. That's actually Simba. He's gone round. That means he's lapped in this race. But look at this. Down the inside. Look at this. 3 wide. Complete contact. Dragging him off on the track. Oh my God. That's Robbie out. Lewin Skiller, I think, has some damage. As well, it's a safety car. But that felt personal for Milan. That felt very, very personal. Incredibly personal from Milan there. He's got wing damage anyway. Oof. I think we're going to be seeing a report into the stewards about that move. Of course, I think we know. I think we know what's going to be coming. Yeah, Mikas, absolute cinema. This is crazy. I have no words. I have no words at all. Welcome everybody. Hello, welcome to the stream. You guys joining quite late, but welcome. Oof. But this now, it does give XR8 and Ryan Benink specifically a chance to win and to still get this. Still to take this victory. But we'll have to see, because we can see Lewin Skiller gets held up quite a bit here. He's getting his front wing changed, I believe. And allows Milan to go back out in front. But it is now, it is back to a 4-way fight for the win. But I still think, I mean, a lot more drivers are going to join in now, but the gaps are quite large. The top 3 are coming around to the safety car. Hello, Unknown. Welcome to the stream. I hope you enjoy it. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like. My reaction to that was crazy. I practically screamed my mic off. It's actual cinema. Actually crazy. I did not mean to shout so loud. I was just so surprised by that. Oh, at least we get 2 minutes to rest. A few minutes just to rest before we get going for some more racing into the final couple of laps. I think we're going to have to go at the end of this lap because there will be 2 laps of racing. So, oh. We'll have to see. I'm just... That moment. Oh. That's going into a compilation. Or it's either a compilation or it's going into the trailer for next season. That's going in. There's no way it doesn't go in. There is no way it does not go in. Safety car is in this lap. It's Ryan Benink who controls the grid and leads them away for 2 final laps onto lap 28 and 29. XR8 have led a massive chunk of this race. Will they lead more? Will they take their 4th win in 9 races? Or will XPG take their 2nd win of the season? Or UFRT take their 1st ever win in 4s and their 1st ever win in FRLT? Who knows? And there goes... Ooh, I thought he was going for a 2nd. When is he going to go? And he is going now. Hasn't been a good getaway. It's not been the best of getaways because Bourbon Boy's been able to keep up with him. Same as the rest of the grid. Most drivers have actually been able to keep up with him. Down towards turn 1. Who's going to make a move? Here comes Bourbon Boy down the inside. The XPG driver trying to make the move. Look at this. Down the inside, Bourbon Boy trying to get past for the lead. But it is now a shootout for the win. 2 laps to go. DRS will be enabled onto the final lap, but here comes Bourbon Boy once again, down the inside. Will he go for the move? No, he hasn't. You see Milan's trying to make his way past in any sort of way he can, but he's unable to, and he has to hold on to P4, but of course, I'm expecting penalties post-race for that man, and look at this. Has Pesci been seen sleeping slightly? Yes, he has, because look at that. That allows Lewin Skiller through by 2 places, up to P3, and now it is a bit of a different battle. Pesci trying to make the move into P4. He's done a Fernando Alonso. And that is an amazing move he's trying to make. He's a little bit far behind. He hasn't got the straight line speed, so he has to tuck back into P5 for now. And now we're going to be going to the final lap very shortly. Just a couple of corners left in this race. It is all coming down to this. Who is going to win? XR8 or XPG or SKG or UFRT or ABE? Who is going to win? Now, we watch Ryan Benink lead onto the final lap. DRS will be enabled onto lap 29, remember. So it is still going to be going down to this, but no DRS down the pit straight. It will be down the next straight. And so that might be where the move takes place. You can see Bourbon Boy closing more and more and more. And now into turn 1 he goes. Bourbon Boy getting pushed a little bit through turn 1. Has Ryan Benink just been able to just to squeeze a big enough gap? Has he been able to? Maybe, maybe not. You can see, here comes Bourbon Boy. He's trying to close in. He's not close enough for the move. But look at this. Pesci, down the inside. He's gone into turn 4. And he's made that move back on Milan. Milan trying to use some tactics, but it's not been able to work for the moment. And he's down to P5 in this race. And that he's still battling it, though. He's still trying to get that position. But it's leaving him a little bit weak to an attack from behind from Flores in P6. So I have to see, heading down into the next straight. Look at this, Bourbon Boy. Right on the back. He's right on the back now. Using everything he's got. He's going to try and go for it. He's going round the outside. He's trying to make the move work. He's using everything he's got down the inside. He's side by side almost. He's so close, within a tenth of a second. Is he going to send it into this corner? No, he's not. He's waiting for another straight. He's waiting till he can use everything he's got. Use the slipstream. Use the speed. What can he do? Into the final corner. Going to the outside he goes. He's tried to do it. And around the outside, Bourbon Boy! He's made the move. Can he hold on to it up to the line? Bourbon Boy wins in Bahrain for FRLT 4's round number 9 in season number 4. Oh my God. Oh, the voice crack is crazy. But that is, oh my God. Oh, that end. What an end that was. Bourbon Boy. Final corner. He sent everything he had. And a move it was. And I've got to give respect for that move. It was incredible. Oh, I'm gonna die from dehydration. That was one hell of a crazy 2 final laps to the race. But basing it off of this, I think it's been 17 points and another 2, 19. So 20 points, by the way, for SKG. They scored 20 points. For UFRT, they got 11 and 3, so they got 15. So they got 14 points, a 6 points difference, and I think there was a 7-point gap, I believe. Simba's doing some donuts to end the season. Doing a lot of donuts. Yeah. I think we might be here for a while with this man. He's just celebrating this so much. So, in the end, we'll look at the results. But that is XPG. We said about a tough season and a tough couple of seasons without a title. But here, in round number 9, they take their second win in Season 4. Second win in 4s of this season. And on the top step to end the season as well is just incredible for these guys. But let's go through it. It is Born Boy, followed by the Excite duo of Ryan Benink and Lewin Skiller. Then is Pesci in 4th, Milan in 5th, Anto in 6th, Flores in 7th, Deck in 8th, Smokey 9th, and Itwater in 10th. Outside of that is Ivy, Warrener, and Simba. Then our retirements be Robbie, Edward, Samuel, Gil. Those are our 3 retirements in the end. Ultimately, what an end to that. What an absolute end. I can already see reports coming in already. Before I've done anything, I can already see reports coming in, which is insane. I think there's permissions for some. I'm going to give permissions to, hang on, I've got to give it to the Falls managers quickly. I do apologise. I am just quickly having to do that so we can get some interviews from them. Let's see. Let's get Ryan Benink. Then we get Ryan Benink. And who finished 3rd? I cannot remember who finished 3rd. It was also another XR8 driver, but we'll leave that. I'll also pull in. I've got to pull in. I'll pull in Pesci, and if possible, at all, maybe Nabe. We'll just leave AB for now. So let's see if we want some interviews. Let's see if anybody wants to do a lovely interview with for tonight, as it is the finale. Of course, it is the finale. So I'd love it if we could get some people in to do some interviews. Of course. Yeah, so we've got a couple of people coming in. Not sure about Bourbon. We'll see whether he wants to or not. Should be able to see that. So while we wait for them to get into the waiting for interview, I'll just quickly close F1 because my PC is dying slowly. So yeah, so we'll bring them in now. We'll start off. Let's start off with the championship winners, Ryan Benink. We'll start off with that. Let's bring him in. Hello, Ryan. Welcome to the interviews once again. How does it feel to end out the season? Of course, champions narrowly missing out, of course, on the win. But how does it feel to come out season 4 champions of Falls?
That I'm very happy with. It was a good season, I think. Consistency over results usually, but this race we've been screwed over in the end. Milan.
Yeah, I think very controversial moment. That's definitely going to be going in next season's trailer. I think I broke my mic half the time, but you know, I'll just do that. I'll just do that in the trailer as well. Make your ears bleed. Yeah. Very close, of course, to getting the victory. But do you feel like it was just it was just last minutes or final corner, of course, which is crazy. Do you feel like it was some good racing though, between you and Bourbon?
Yeah, Bourbon Boy deserved it. I think he was definitely one of the cleaner guys. So I'm not mad that he won, but I do think if Robba and Luan were not cracked into, we would have been P1, P2, and P3 and been able to defend that. But yeah, I did everything I could to try and get the win, but yeah, he did a great job conserving ERS and getting me to the.
I mean, in all fairness, still in the end, double podium, so still P2 and P3. So at least you got two on there. But for next season, do you feel, of course, new game coming out? Do you feel like the confidence is there? Maybe if you return to fours, do you feel like you're going to be gunning for back-to-back championship?
I mean, I'm pretty sure most of our drivers should be buying the new game, so I'm confident that we'll have some great pace going to the new season. And yeah, I'm confident that we should be doing a decent job also in the possible NA tier that you.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting with that. But of course, we'll have to see how the game is because we know its tendency to be garbage.
Absolutely, yeah.
But thank you for joining me, and well done on the championship and a very close victory. And I'll speak to you possibly Wednesday or most likely next season.
All right, bye-bye.
So the next person we're going to bring in is Pesci, man who manages UFRT, but also got P4 tonight, but secured third in the constructors, I believe, if I'm correct. Hello there. Welcome to the interview box for I think the first time this season.
It's the first time.
Yeah. How does it feel? P4, very close to a podium, very close to a victory, but how was tonight's race?
Well, it's annoying because I feel like this is probably one of my best races I've driven here. That and Abu Dhabi earlier in the season, and I've just came short. That's 2 times of asking, but the safety car at the end really killed the chances. I feel like I played the strategy well. I was working well with, I think it was Milan and Bourbon, but just that safety car at the end kind of killed it because I feel like I would have been able to get a guaranteed podium.
Yeah.
Especially after the crash, but
yeah.
Even still, they were on such older tires.
It would have been easy.
I feel like I would have been able to get through, but
yeah, of course, a bit unlucky.
Yeah, it's a bit unlucky in that regard because I was like, yes, my eyes lit up, and I just went underneath, got into P3. There was an old tire runner up ahead, and one more. So it was, yeah. I mean, it's a bit annoying. I had a good fight with Milan at the end after the safety car, but it was fair racing. But I got pushed, and then another car went through, and that ended up being the reason why I didn't get a podium. But it's all GG's. There's nothing dirty there.
I mean, of course, if I'm correct, if my maths is correct, which it probably isn't, I believe you guys have held on to third in the constructors.
Yeah, I was just trying to do that maths, and I think we've done it.
Yeah, I think you guys have done it by about 2 or 3 points, I believe.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot closer than we would have hoped it'd be.
Yeah, I think it's 1 point actually, because you guys scored 14 and they scored 20.
Right.
So,
okay.
and it was a 7-point gap, I believe. If I have a quick look, I think it was a 7-point gap.
It's 11 actually.
It's 11. Okay, I don't even know my own standings anymore, and I do these every week. Oh yeah, it is. So, you guys have actually just come out ahead by five points. So it's a bit. Okay. It's a little bit tight into this race, of course. But are you feeling sort of pumped up and ready for next season? Do you feel like maybe third is not where you want to be? Do you think first is definitely a chance next season?
Well, if we start getting the right drivers in first, you can never say no. But I feel like second this season was definitely possible. It's the first like few months of the team being a thing, and the fact we've even managed to keep P3. On the face of it, it looks nice. But then when you really look into it, SKG have missed 5 of the races and they're still this close. So
yeah, I think it just comes down to lineups really and who's doing what. Because I think you guys for most of the season, I think especially in the first sort of, I'd say 4 races, you guys got a little bit unlucky because ABE, XR8, XPG were sort of, and TTR were bringing sort of really good lineups. And then for the second half of the season, they've not so much done that, especially with like ABE and XPG. So I think, it's kind of been a bit up and down. But have you got any final words to the season? As you will be the final person I'll interview for Force. So
Yeah, it's an honor.
great.
Just watch out for F1 25. That's all I'm gonna say. We're very focused on that. This is more of a, get people some experience, get our foot in, let people know who we are a little bit, and then in 25 we're going hard, and we'll definitely be here for some wins.
Well, ultimately, thank you so much for joining me in the comms box, and good luck for next season, and also good luck for, I think, Tier 1 on Wednesday as well. Finale.
Yeah.
Long week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Speak to that.
So, in the end, that is it for Fours this season. But before I go for Fours this season, before I leave, the next time you guys will hear me is for Tier 1 on Wednesday. But this season has been incredible. I'll give it to you guys. It's been a brilliant season from start to finish. The support we've had this season for Fours is incredible compared to last season as well. It's been so much bigger. So much more attention. We've brought in so much more, and it's been just incredible from sort of start to finish. And a huge amount of that has come from you guys. In all fairness, a lot of it has come from you guys. You guys have generally made the league run and keep going. Well done to XR8 on their incredible championship from, being sort of 50 odd points behind to, I think, 50 odd points behind to then claiming the championship with sort of a race spare is brilliant. And great job also to some other teams. Great job to UFRT as well for holding on for the moment onto that third place in the constructors. SKG as well, back-to-back wins. Only 2 teams have done that this season. Not many teams do that in Fours anyway. And well done also to AB on second, another trophy. Maybe next season will be theirs to win. They haven't won yet in 4 seasons any trophies. They haven't won anything, but maybe next season. Ultimately, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like. Also, click on that notification bell to know about all of the content we're going to be doing from streams, shorts, and videos. We've only got 1 stream left, but there will be videos and shorts coming very soon. And we'll also be doing a little highlight reel at the end of the season. So, about maybe a week after Tier 1 ends, so not this coming week, maybe the next week or the week after, we'll be having a little highlight reel of all of the moments across F1 24 and across the past 3 seasons with Fours, Tier 1 and Tier 2 all added in. So ultimately, guys, thank you so much, and just incredibly so much, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.